Welcome back to
Confidence Talks.
So, today I thought we'd start talking about what self-confidence actually is. Self-confidence, self-esteem, there's lots of different words that can be used to describe this. I think we were actually going to look at a definition of what does it actually mean.
There is. There is. And it ties in with our theme, doesn't it, of confidence. And it takes... right. So we have got... Self-esteem is your overall opinion of yourself, how you feel about your abilities and limitations. When you have healthy self-esteem, you feel good about yourself and see yourself as deserving the respect of others. When you have low self-esteem, you put little value on your opinions and ideas. That's quite interesting, that, isn't it? When you feel good about yourself, you see yourself deserving the respect of others.
We talked, didn't we, on the pilot about what respect is, and that kind of feeds into it. It's that word deserving, that you feel like you deserve it. That then comes into not having to demand respect because you feel you deserve it. You earn that self-respect.
Yeah, it's that when you think about how people think about self-worth, self-esteem, they don't feel they deserve that respect. And that portrays in their behavior and the way they will communicate with other people. It's almost kind of shirked. It's hidden and closed off. And you see it play out.
Yes.
Massively.
And that's where it's mistaken for, oh, that person's an introvert.
Yeah.
Or shy introvert, I think, is a very blurred line. I know somebody that you think that person was introvert, but I'm told otherwise. Oh no, they're shy. So it's like, what's the difference? That's maybe, we need to talk about that at some point. But that's when you do, don't you? You turn around and say, well, they're an introvert, or they're not coming out of their shell. But it's this self-worth.
Yeah.
That we talk about, the self-esteem.
A little bit about, does my opinion matter here? Which is why maybe they don't speak up necessarily. But it is a good place to start, isn't it? Because how we see ourselves, whether we see ourselves as worthy, deserving, or otherwise, how we see ourselves and how much respect we have for ourselves is what we actually project out. And then that's going to impact how the world sees us.
And the confidence that we ooze out.
Yeah.
We ooze out. or not.
Yeah.
And it's very intertwined, isn't it? Self-esteem, confidence, self-worth, the ability, one's ability. And the person is constantly questioning themselves, or their self-doubt even.
It's about the value you place on yourself.
Exactly. And the worth you place on yourself.
Absolutely.
And people do say, don't they? People who don't necessarily have that self-esteem, I'm worthless. I'm not worth this, or I'm not worth that, or it's not worth spending time with me. I mean, people get themselves in that rat, not rat race, but that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
Of I'm not worth anything.
And these are the people that vocalize it. There are people out there that have that in conversation internally and don't share that thinking with other people. So you would never fully understand or appreciate the battle that's going on inside them.
And therefore be able to help them.
Yeah.
And it is a real battle these people would be having.
Oh, God, yeah.
With themselves. And then that leads to other things like depression.
Whole array of mental health.
Yeah, mental health. Yeah.
Absolutely. You've got to wonder, where does it start? That self-esteem. Self-esteem is something we should all have, but somebody not having or having low self-esteem, where does it start? I think quite often it can be down to maybe one experience or many. It could be down to something simple that somebody said that was a passing by comment, but it hit that person maybe at a time when they were quite vulnerable.
Well, interestingly, so I had a little look at mind.org, and they talked about difficult or stressful life experiences that can be a factor in causing low self-esteem.
Okay.
And there's a few, I'm not going to lie. And the top one on here, and it's not no particular order, but the top one on here is being bullied or abused.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, because
Being
if you talk about being
connected.
bullied and
Or
abused,
abused.
or abused or abused, they're something that don't have to just be physical, but they hit you from a mental point of view, don't they? And your mental health. And let's not forget that there are so many different types of abuse that you can get.
Oh, absolutely.
You can get even emotional abuse. And I think maybe this is a topic for, I know we spoke about this, generational and cultural upbringing. I know that for me, I'd like to bring in talking about that kind of like emotional abuse in that, because I think some of these go under the radar and not picked up necessarily.
Yes.
So in the spirit of being vulnerable in these sessions, I was emotionally abused pretty much for most of my childhood, and it massively impacted me throughout my life. It was, I never really understood what it was when it was happening, if I'm being perfectly honest. It just, I just thought that was a normal thing to happen to people. That's the way people spoke to each other and all of that sort of thing. And it was only when it got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore that I realized something's not right here. This is not what it should feel like when you're having a conversation, where you feel like you don't have a choice in what action you've got to take because someone is taking that choice away from you, from the conversation that they're having. And actually, I found the damage to me was far greater than any physical abuse, because it was, when you get physical abuse, it happens, and you get the bruise or you get whatever, and you can see it healing. The emotional abuse, if you don't go and get the right help, it never heals. And it's only when you choose to do something about it that you truly will heal that.
That's if you come to the realization that this is wrong.
Yeah.
And you need to do something about it.
And for me, it was when I was very young. Like, I couldn't understand it. I didn't comprehend it until I was an adult. And I was growing into my sort of adult years that I started to really understand what was going on. And even then, I wasn't in a position to deal with it.
I suppose realizing it, accepting it, and not feeling guilty about accepting this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because when it's people that you are close to and have grown up around and with, you carry this guilt that if you face up to the fact that this is wrong and it was emotional abuse, that means they were wrong.
Yeah.
And that they should have known better.
It's always the people you don't expect it to come from. The people that you think are going to be your protectors that it tends to happen with. And I think that's what probably burns the most. So yeah, that massively rings true from my perspective, at least.
And because you are really putting yourself out on the line, and because there might be so many people who either have reached that realization that maybe this has happened to them, or actually are still realizing it, or weren't aware actually this is what it was. How did you turn that around? How did you finally kind of stand up and say enough?
I think I went through a phase where I'm one of these people that when something kind of happens, I have a tendency to bottle it up. And I'll bottle it up until the point where I cannot hold on anymore. And I will, for lack of a better phrase, erupt. It will literally just come out in whatever shape or form with no control whatsoever. And I had a couple of those instances where I just went, I can't take this anymore, and you need to stop. I don't think the person fully understood what they were doing. But
was that because that was a norm to them, do you think?
I think it's what they had. I think it was.
Yeah, because that's often the case, isn't it? They think
cycle.
this is norm, this is the norm, and therefore that just carries on.
For me, the thing that got me really and truly through it was, and this wasn't easy, it was having to sit back and think, it's not about me. It might be happening to me, but it's not about me. It's about them. It's about their insecurities. It's about their shortcomings and their issues
that are being projected onto you.
Absolutely. And it took me a while, I'm not going to lie, to change that mindset and really step into their shoes for a moment to understand where it might be coming from. That's what allowed me to start healing. It didn't heal me completely at that point, but it started the journey for me to be able to look at it differently and accept that was what happened and allow me to heal and move forward. But it took a while to get there. And I was lucky enough to have some help on the way.
Yeah.
Do you feel that experience, at the time you didn't realise it was emotional abuse, and for what I imagine was a long time. Has that shaped who you are today?
Gotcha. Absolutely. I'm very aware of it. Very aware. It's, if I see it happening in other circumstances, I'm straight.
Yeah.
I'm all over it. But as a person, it's definitely made me check myself. My emotional awareness has been heightened as a result. And I think it's what makes me as empathetic as I am naturally, because I've experienced so much emotional turmoil. When someone tells me about their pain, I feel it resonates heavily with me. And I think that's created me into the person that I am today. And without that experience, I don't think I would have got here.
So if you think back, your self-esteem might have been quite low, and your confidence at that point in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Through the help and your realization, you've changed that around, would you say?
Yeah.
You took it into your hands, and you changed that deck of cards, as we've said earlier.
You reshuffled.
I reshuffled.
You reshuffled.
Yeah. It's the experience you go through when you do something like that. It's fight or flight.
Yes.
I definitely fled for a long part of my life with it. And they came to a point where I was like, no, I'm done. It's time to fight. And fight for me. And for no one else but me. And that's what I did.
Well, there's the flight, fight, and there's the freeze as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
And I think when you're younger and you don't know those options of fright and flight, you freeze.
Yeah.
And maybe for you at some point it might have been freeze, and then you realise that there are two other options.
Yeah. And
that's very common, that freeze, especially in childhood, because you have nowhere to go. You don't know what other options are available. If it's happening to somebody at a young age. But to be able to turn that around, that's credit to you, and for opening up, actually.
It is the whole reason for doing this, right?
Yes.
If I can talk about my experience and what I went through, and someone hears it and is able to reflect on their own experiences and use it in some way to help them, then it was worth having this conversation.
Because sometimes it's actually quite difficult to understand or realise emotional abuse. Obviously, physical abuse, sexual abuse, things like that are pretty obvious, but sometimes emotional abuse is done in such a way that actually you don't realise.
Yeah.
It's not
and
obviously,
the damage it's being done.
It's not obviously visible. Yeah,
No.
you can't easily see it sometimes. Yeah. So the thing, I guess, what's brilliant to see here is, although those experiences shaped who you were, and not in a great way for a long time, where you became, you didn't have great self-esteem, self-confidence, you've been on such a long journey. You haven't changed who you are. You're still the same person.
Yeah.
But you've brought out a lot of other positive elements of your personality. If we look at the kind of career you have, what you do, which you might need to just remind us what you do. It's, to me, it's very clear why you do that.
And I think that's why I do what I do. So, in my line of work, management training, leadership training, all of that stuff, it's about helping people, right? It's about helping people get to a point in their life that enables their careers or their life purpose or whatever it might be.
And I'm sure, do you see people with low self-esteem within their careers?
Oh God,
and how
so
you
much.
turn that around?
Yeah.
That, like you say, it's helping somebody, because there's bullies everywhere, aren't there? Even in the workplace, we think about it as bullies at school, but actually there are people that can make you feel really low, or they feel threatened by you.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I found, we talk about confidence, and when somebody's confidence, another person feels very threatened, and therefore they, because of the threat that they feel or their insecurities, they make you feel like you're in the wrong, or you're the one that's the issue, as we use that word, issue. But actually it's them. And that has happened to me. Where, as I'm told sometimes, your strength is your weakness, Nish. I have confidence, I'm out there, I want to help people. Now, people can either take advantage of that or they feel threatened by that. But for me, there is no malice. It is pure. It is just who I am, what I can do, and how I can help. But that can be seen as a real threat. So confidence can have its drawback as well. So you feel confident, but the other person is threatened by your confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that shouldn't be, it's not your drawback. It's theirs.
Yeah. But sometimes you're made to feel like that at that point. And your self-worth, or the self-respect that you feel, the self-esteem, that you might be on top of the world, and you're doing something for somebody, or you're trying to help somebody, and then the response you get, and you sort of think, oh, was that me? You question yourself.
Yeah.
And there are situations, I've been in many of those situations in my time, because of who I am and what I do and how I am. But I've got a point in my life now, actually, where I think, no, I'm okay. I'm good. I know who I am. And actually, it's not me. I will continue to do what I do. Sometimes, like you say, you become more aware. Your awareness is heightened by what you're about to do, or you almost have a protective layer. I put a protective layer in front of me, a shield. So I'm very aware of what I'm going in doing, or what I'm doing for somebody, or whatever it may be. It's not always for somebody. But I know that if the outcome is not what I'm expecting, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, because it's not me. I'm going in with all the good intentions with what I'm doing. And if somebody has an issue with that or a problem with that, that's their problem, actually. It's not my problem. And that in itself takes confidence. You got to be confident enough to be strong enough to think like that.
Do you know what? I'm just going to pick on something that you said there. You talked about intent. And I like what you're saying is, there was no malice. And in anything that you do, for me, it's all about, you go into it with the right intent, with positive intent.
Absolutely.
And if you hold that at the core of who you are and what you're about, everything you do will always be received in the right way.
Yeah.
Even the categories.
Even Stitch agrees.
I think Stitch is after me here. Stitch need to be let out, do you think? Somebody need to open that door for Stitch.
She's all right.
She'll run it.
She's just bigging up
As
about
long as she's not going to
self-confidence.
jump on me, because you know me and cats.
That'll make for interesting.
Not for the camera,
way
it
to
won't.
break the serious talk, Stitch. Come on around here. Do you know? You're absolutely right with the. Maybe it comes with age. Maybe it comes with different experiences you go through to get to that point where you're sure of yourself.
Yes, definitely comes with age. I would say it definitely comes with age.
I definitely did. I have through my life to this stage definitely dealt with kind of like self-esteem challenges, and I think it comes very similar thing to yourself. I've always been, since I was young, I've always been the life of a party. I've always been bubbly. I've always been fun. I've always been about helping other people, and you know, I've always been that kind of person, and I'm very, very sociable as well. So I think it could be a similar thing to you're saying. I would always find myself on the outside of certain circles, almost
I can
like
relate to that.
you know when you
I can so relate to that.
you feel like you try and change yourself to fit in, and I'm sure there are many people who do the same thing to fit into a social setting. So you think, oh, maybe I need to be a little less confident, a little less bubbly. Maybe I need to be a little bit more this, and before you know it,
you're just changing.
Yeah,
yourself are changing for
you've
somebody else.
chipped away parts of your personality that actually that you actually should be proud of, and it's part of you. It's authentic. But it definitely has, and even after doing that, I don't feel like I belong in that place, because you feel you just know that people around you aren't being genuine.
That can be very obvious sometimes. Really
Absolutely.
obvious.
But also you're not being true to yourself.
And there comes a whole other guilt with that. There comes a whole other self-worth kind of topic about, I don't like who I see in the mirror because that's not me. So this is, I'm basically summarizing a very long journey, but I can absolutely say I've been in that situation as well. And it takes you, while you're going through it quite often as well, the same as bullying, you often don't, as you said with emotional abuse, you don't realize as you're going through it, such is the way emotional abuse and bullying is done, that you actually aren't very aware as it's happening. It's when you come out the other end that you reflect and you realize that this is what happened, and then almost feel guilty that you allowed it to happen.
Or you even question, they must think I'm not worthy. And therefore that's why they're doing it to me. And that almost
something
makes
wrong with
it
me.
And that makes it even worse.
Oh yes, yeah, I've been there. That feeling of, or you're being told because of you, and it's like, what have I done here? Actually, look at yourself. Look at the other person. It's not me. But you know, the way it's put across to you, it's you just, it's like you're knocked for six. Your confidence is knocked, but yet you've been so assured of yourself, and then you get a sort of a blow, and it's like, whoa. And you, like I say, you doubt yourself. You know, but then you realize, no, actually it's that other person. They are the one with the low self-esteem. They are the one that are insecure or have had maybe a bad experience, but they're projecting it out. They're deflecting, basically. They're deflecting, and because they see somebody who they're feeling threatened by, but yet you're not there to threaten them. You know, like you say, the intent is pure. You want to help, but they can't actually handle it.
You know, it reminds me of a story I heard. I was watching a video clip of a famous actress, can't remember her name for the life of me, and she was talking about how she wasn't confident in herself. She didn't have her self-worth or whatever it might be. And whenever other women came into the room, she would insult them.
Oh, wow.
It would almost be, you know, who does she think she is? What, you know, whatever words came to her, it would be that. And she, at the time, had a coach that was supporting her. And the coach apparently turned around and said, "What's that about? How did you go from being absolutely fine to this person.
Too catty.
Yes. I was going to use a slightly harsher word, but okay. But go to that kind of person, you know, and for her to feel worthy, she shrunk other women.
Yes, that's a very common trait. Very common.
And it happens so much, so much. And it was fascinating to hear.
And I mean, I can't speak for the men out there, but it'd be really interesting to have a man's point of view on this.
Gotcha.
But as women, we know that we do that to each other. Like I said, we bring people down. We don't always lift them up. We don't empower.
Yeah.
You know, just if somebody is having a problem or they do feel insecure, like you spoke earlier in the first episode about when it comes to the three of us that you may not speak as much, but you're not feeling threatened.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a long time ago now, but my sister-in-law, lovely, lovely, absolutely amazing woman. But when she got married and came into our family, all the girls of the family were quite, well, she found us quite intimidating.
Okay. It
was years later that she told me this. She said, I was really intimidated by you guys. I was like, what? She said, you guys were just so confident. You just got on with it. You just picked up where you were. If somebody put something down, you picked it up. You got on with it. You were great in the kitchen. She said, I felt so intimidated. I was like, my gosh, I never meant to make you feel like that. She goes, it wasn't you. You didn't do it intently. But she said, she was the youngest of her family. You know, she had 3 much older sisters. And obviously her mum, who, you know, when you're the youngest in the family and you've got much older siblings, everything's done for you almost.
Yeah.
You know, people just get on with it and whatever. And then you learn by watching. And that she came into our family and there she was. And there we were doing just that. You know, and she said, I don't feel like that anymore because I've got to know you. She said, but initially that's how I felt.
But that goes to show you how we think, and by we I am generalizing because I think it takes a certain amount of self-awareness that I think all 3 of us have gone on individual journeys and we've somehow come together at the right point in our lives where we've actually been through that kind of realization and kind of self-awareness, which is why we can see ourselves in that way and kind of really understand and pull apart how things have worked out for us and why. But a lot of people don't have that. And people who don't really have that self-awareness, their go-to is always, and it's so interesting because it resonates in the words, you made me feel this way.
But she was never, as the word was used, catty.
Yeah.
She was never like that. I think what she did is she shrunk. She shrunk herself.
But she allowed the way somebody else was coming across to impact the way she was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a very confident lady now.
Yeah.
You know, but initially, and now when I look back, I think, gosh, yes, you know, you came across very timid, very quiet, very shy. But I didn't realise it was what she was seeing and the people that were around her that made her feel like that. Because she wasn't. She was a very independent woman, you know, in her own right, in what she did. But then she came across, and it wasn't, she never used the word threatened. She didn't feel threatened. I think there's threatened and there's intimidated. I think they're 2 very different things. But she just felt intimidated because there we were just able, you know, she saw us as very confident.
I suppose that's what you said earlier about that protective bubble. That's what I'd like to focus on. So people, first of all, it's about how do you see yourself?
Yes.
Ask yourself that question. Do you see yourself as worthy and deserving because you should? And if not, the first person you need to have a conversation is with yourself.
Absolutely.
To change that, to change the way you see yourself.
Yes.
The next thing to do is to, as you said, create that protective bubble around you. So be aware of going into or the work situations. So it's about being aware of a situation you're going into and not allowing that to impact who you are.
Yes.
Because if you do, well, then that person wins. I mean, hopefully, you would hope that the people who are being catty, or the people who are feeling threatened by other people, we know it's to do with their own insecurities and challenges.
And their self-esteem.
And their self-esteem. So we would hope that they would look at their own self-esteem and not have to then feel the need to pull somebody else down to feel like they are bigger and better.
But that's the easiest option, isn't it? That's the easiest route. Let's pull somebody else down.
Yeah, it's almost
rather
like,
than talking about it or doing something about it for yourself.
Yeah.
Or seeking that help.
They may not have the awareness, like the actress you were talking about, until somebody who she probably respected enough to give her that feedback.
Yeah.
Maybe she wasn't even aware of, oh God, I do that. Why do I do that? It's asking those questions of yourself.
But it's so hard to hold the mirror up to yourself. You see this over and over again. Like, it's easy to look at other people and pass comment. But when you've got to hold that mirror up to yourself and say, yeah, that's what I did, I need to own that. That's a much
really
harder
hard step
concept
to take, isn't it?
It's hard, but I'll tell you, it's liberating.
Oh God, yeah.
It's liberating if you have the confidence to go, nobody else here, it's between me, myself,
and I.
And I.
Yeah.
Let me be honest and let me really pull apart my personality and let me think about what I like and what I don't like, because it's within our capacity. You know, it's like when I was talking about what I want to do with confidence talks and what am I. We had these conversations and I called myself not a personal stylist but a personality stylist.
Yes.
And the whole concept was behind, if you don't like the person you're seeing in the mirror, if you don't like traits in your personality, change it.
Yeah.
You know, you created it, you can change it.
Absolutely, you can. You can, but it's having that level of awareness to be able to talk to yourself in the mirror and be aware of what you are doing.
But even if you don't have that awareness, there are so many tools out there that you can use to help you with that. You know, I use them constantly as part of sort of training that we offer and stuff. But all it takes is a conversation.
But there's also that accepting.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game.
Step.
Yeah.
Would that be part of these tools? So you talked about some professional tools that you use.
Yeah. So there's a tool out there called Johari's Window, which allows you to reflect on what you know about yourself and what other people know about you, what might be in your blind spot that people say about you that you don't realize.
All right.
And other things around what's called your hidden area. So what you know about yourself that others don't know about you. So it's about opening yourself up and being vulnerable to an extent, but also understanding what your blind spot is.
I think it'd be great if we can put some of these links, in our podcast.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For people, and the one that you've just mentioned, and obviously from your professional point of view, if there's any others, I think that would be great. I mean, I'd love to try that myself. I've not heard of that one.
Even if you do love who you are, wouldn't it be great just to kind of pull your personality apart and think, right, what do I have to offer?
Yeah. We're not all perfect.
Yeah.
We're not all perfect. I'm sure there's flaws in all of us. And it's always great that you can improve yourself, better version of yourself.
It could be just as simple as having a conversation with a friend.
Yes.
It doesn't, you don't have to go looking for, tools to make
professional kind of help. Yeah.
Sitting amongst friends, having a conversation, a very open and honest conversation.
But you've got to be around people to feel comfortable to have those chats. I mean, there's a lot of tools out there now, and I think people do go to tools more than they will either, I mean, we're very lucky to have the three of us where we can laugh, we can cry, we can scream with each other.
Yeah, we call each other up on stuff. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Actually, we've done that many times, haven't we?
Yeah.
Well, you can do this, but why can't you do that? But we are comfortable enough to do that.
Yeah.
If you've got that sort of a friendship, that's great. Absolutely amazing to have that.
I think it's recognizing who those people are in your life as well. Again, we talked about, we are definitely going to do a topic on this, talking about confidence when it comes to your social setting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the pilot, we talked about the stats of what percentage of people don't feel confident in their own social setting that they choose to be a part of. So we will be talking about that and talking about the people that you spend time with in your life and how do they make you feel? You know, are you comfortable in that situation? Do they pick you up? Do they give you confidence? Do they pull you up where you're not doing something right? Is it an authentic relationship? Or actually, are you just left feeling anxious and it's not doing anything for you? So we're going to talk about decluttering, basically, and having the social groups and the friends who actually add something to your life. And recognizing them, because as we know, it can make the world of a difference.
Yes, definitely it does. And I think there's also a life cycle when it comes to friendships and the people that you're around. I do truly believe that. I know there's the saying friends are for life, but I'm not so sure, because we all go through different stages of our life. You know, you've got your childhood, you've got your teenage years, you've got your college days, your uni days, your career days, your parenting days, if you go down that route. You know, then you've got your middle age, old age. But to think in the statistics that we had last time that the peak is at 60 and people are still feeling
still not happy, still not happy
60
with their kind of confidence level, still not happy with just how they are or how they put themselves out there. It's absolutely shocking. We can put the word cycles on the end of that. Friends are for life cycles. So self-reflection, big thing, being able to hold up the mirror and just look at yourself and think about, what do I like about my personality? Also just understanding where some of those elements come from. You don't have to get rid of anything. It's just about having a balance. You know, as you said, we're human beings. We are not supposed to be perfect. In Ed Sheeran's words, you know, like perfect imperfections, that's what we're about. So it's not about being perfect, but it's about being happy with who you are.
Absolutely.
And comfortable with who you are, so much so that if you walk into any dynamic, you can't change the personalities in that room, but you can create, as you said, this bubble around yourself where you don't allow their insecurities to impact you.
And I've been in many situations where people make you feel that, or it's their intent to do that to you. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling. You know, in the pit of your stomach, you feel sick that you're going into that situation. But you've got to have that self-confidence to say, actually, this is not going to alter me. This is not me. It's them. If that is what is going on.
And that's such a hard place to get to when your self-esteem is already low.
It's taken me a long time.
Yeah, good point.
It's taken me a long time.
Yeah, if you're already struggling with self-esteem and confidence, it is really tough to be able to do that. But I would just hold on to the point that if somebody is being negative to you in any way, whether it's through intent, whether it's through just being catty, whether it's through trying to pull you down in any which way, it's just to not make it about you and make it about them, as you said. So remember that this is just almost empathize with them, which is so difficult to do, but just think, wow, they must be really going through some tough stuff if they're having to project that onto me, basically. So not saying that you might be able to help them, but at least you can kind of take that away and not allow it to impact you and pull you down. Because if we do, and I know we're going to talk another time about social media, but that comes into this as well, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, that's changed the world.
You know, we can talk about self-worth. You know, somebody puts a post up and they'll be checking it every few seconds to see how many likes they've got and comments and things like that.
And it's like, you know, for me, social media is what you want the world to see about you. It's not you.
And it's 99%, usually all the positives, isn't it, of somebody's life. When do you ever see negatives? Do you ever see people
Hardly
putting
ever.
on social media, I'm having a really shit day?
I wish they would, because that
I'm
would be
in a
far
really,
more authentic.
I'm in a
At
really
least
bad place. I need help. I just need somebody to talk to. I'm just having a bad day.
Well,
Or
this is it. At least you know to
nobody-
reach out to that person then.
Yeah. But nobody ever does it. I've
No.
never, or very, very rarely seen that.
But it's about setting up perception, right? You're
Oh,
setting up a
yes.
perception of yourself through social media. And if it doesn't fit the narrative that you're trying to put out there, you're not going to put it out there for the world to see. It's just the way we're conditioned to use social media.
So this comes on to the perception of what we're trying to do, whether it's through social media, whether it's through anything really. What we're trying to do is create an image of ourselves that we think people want to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And what is that? So what is this? What is this kind of social? I don't know what's even the word for it. Kind of outline of what my life should be. What is this? What, that I must be happy, I must be
perfect
successful.
life, isn't it? Like white picket fence, 2.4 children,
that's
two
what
up, two
I was
down,
trying to get
whatever.
Desperate
whatever phrase
Housewives.
whatever you're trying to describe, right? That's what people think.
Or look where I've been. Look, I'm eating here, or I've been on holiday here, or look, I'm out on this beach. It's your life. You do what you want. I had.
Go on.
I had a friend, and she's great. She's a real foodie. She absolutely loves. She follows various chefs and
I
things.
love her already.
Yeah. Oh, she's great, and she goes to some really, really wonderful places. And she posts. That's her. And I was with her once, and she was posting. She was with me in a different country, but prior to that, she'd been somewhere else. But she was catching up with her posting. And somebody commented to her, shouldn't you be posting of where you are now? And I thought, hang on. And she got a little bit upset by it. I said, this is your Facebook. You post what you want. Go tell them, this is my Facebook page, and I will post when and how I like.
I thought she was going to hear something else after she said, go tell them.
It could have gone that way, to be fair.
But she was really, I could really feel it and see it on her. And she went, shall I say that? I went, absolutely say that. Because nobody has a right to tell you what to put on your Facebook.
But that right there is a pure example of her intent was just to share the places she's going, her story. That was her intention.
About, look at the glorious life I lead. It's nothing about that.
But the fact that somebody else had to come back and say that means that that's how they've interpreted it. They see it as, well, I'm here and this person is gallivanting around, going here and there and having this amazing life. But that's how they chose to perceive it. That's not what she put out there.
And that's what I said to her. This is your Facebook. I mean, the industry that my husband works in, so he, it's the IT algorithms, this, that, and the other. So when, Facebook first started off, you could, I don't know if you can still do it, but you could, even if I was sitting here, I could check in that I was in Las Vegas. I don't know if you can do that still, but when it first started, you could.
Okay.
But he'd be sitting in our front room.
Where would he be?
Where would he be?
He'd be checking in here, there, and everywhere. But there was somebody who was attentively following him, telling her partner, "Oh my God, this is where they are. Oh my God, this is where they are." And she
must have their own private jet.
But she was getting really like, oh my God, like, they're. It was, call it envy, call it jealousy. I don't like using those words. I think they're very, very negative words. And then her partner sort of said, who was a friend of my husband's, said, "What the hell are you doing? I've got my wife telling me this, that, and the other. What are you playing at?" And my husband inside was just like, all right, okay, so this
That's so funny. So there you go. So there's a social etiquette. You're not supposed to do that. So what if it's for fun? You shouldn't
really
be doing that.
Winding her up. I mean, and this is what we mean about how social media can get to people.
Yeah.
It's really sad. It's really, really sad, because all she's seeing is that, oh, we're here, we're there, we're having a great time. Well, actually, he was only sitting on the sofa.
Probably 5 minutes down the road.
And that was a hilarious thing about it. But do you see the impact it was having on somebody else?
So,
and he wasn't
fun.
doing it to wind anybody up. He was purely
Just
doing
for
it
fun, because he could.
Well, he wanted to see how the algorithms of Facebook was working.
I would have just done it for fun.
No. He was purely doing it just to
IT
see
person, right?
yeah,
It's gonna
how the
happen.
algorithms were working.
But look how it's being picked up.
Yeah.
So the social conduct is have fun, just don't brag about it, basically.
Apparently so. Right.
So don't brag about it. I don't really, to be honest, and I know we're going to get into a detailed conversation about social media on another one. At the moment, the conversation is about kind of not allowing other people's perceptions and how they want to take something affect how you want to be.
Yeah.
You should be happy with the person you are and the way you are. And as long as you and the people who matter to you, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, whoever matter to you in your close-knit circle, that's how you should be, who you should be concerned with. As far as other people go, in terms of kind of trying to bring you down or make you feel bad about things, it's kind of creating that protective bubble. But I do think it does start with holding up that mirror. It does start with looking at what you're happy with about yourself. If you do feel you lack a little bit of self-confidence in areas, actually look into that and think, why is that the case? Is it because somewhere somebody broke you down and made you think that of yourself?
Yeah.
I can recall a situation where I was told I had 2 left feet. I couldn't dance because the other person danced really well.
Well, I've seen you dance, and that is
Have
not
you?
true whatsoever. Oh, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And you can dance.
Well, I mean, this person was a great dancer. So I was slightly intimidated, I've got to admit. You know, I wouldn't dance. I wouldn't dance in public.
That's horrible.
Then I went to Zumba classes and I started doing Zumba. And Zumba is very much salsa-y, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I was getting it all wrong initially, but in my head, I was still like, I can't do this. I can't do this, you know. So when they all went left, I went right and whatever, but I got the hang of it eventually. And then with the same person, I ended up in a salsa club one night a few years later, and I had got my rhythm back. I had my rhythm. I could dance. And they were like, whoa, what have you been doing? Taking classes? Like, wow, this is amazing. And I was like, no, I'd just been to Zumba classes. But I was confident then. I was confident on that dance floor. It was the same person now telling me that I could dance. But initially it crushed me.
Did it mean much to you, this person now giving you the approval? Did it mean anything
to you? It
to
did,
you?
because it was somebody very, very close to me. Very close to me, who told me I couldn't do it, and now it was their approval. Because they're a great dancer. But after that, I thought, I'm never going to be in this situation again. I'm never going to let anybody make me feel like this. It was meant as a joke. It was meant tongue in cheek, but how it came across to me and the impact it had on me is what they didn't realise.
Yeah.
And that's why I think sometimes we can say things very flippantly.
Yes.
You know, it's like children. And what's the saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt. Well, actually,
not true.
Yeah.
We need a new
I can
one
vouch
for that.
That is so not true.
We need a new one for that.
Yeah. So I guess the moral of the story there is what people need to think before they speak sometimes. And the person it's being said to, I think they've also got to be aware of where they are as well in their life, or how they're feeling. Because sometimes we do say things, don't we, very, very flippantly. We say it to our children. I mean, we talk about confidence, and this is a topic that we're going to be talking about, confident parenting or confident children. But parents say things and they don't realise the impact they're having on their children.
I 100% agree with you.
And as Asian children, we will know, you know, if we got that 9.5 out of 10, we're still going to be told, oh, what happened to the other half? And it's like, God, do we all remember that?
Yeah, it's amazing what you do remember. I can remember scenes and words exactly like I was watching a movie back. from certain stages in my life, and we're talking as young as even 5-6 years old, they just kind of stand out, don't they, to you? I think especially if you're in a role where somebody looks up to you and respects you. So whether you're, because you said this person was a good dancer, for them to say that about that topic, of course you'd listen. You know, if somebody was, you know, you looked up to somebody and you respected them, you would also take into account what they're saying. You know, so I think, and this probably comes back to that word respect. This is how you keep respect, by watching your language and thinking about what you're saying and the impact it's going to have on somebody else. But you know what? Like, I'm sure now if you're in that situation, you would look at things very differently, because you're a whole different person.
Yes.
But for somebody, if there's anybody out there, because I hear people saying this all the time, about dancing is a big one, you know, because dancing is a form of expression, isn't it?
Gotcha.
Dancing is a form of expression. There are many. There's music, there's dancing. People write, you know, whether it's short stories, novels, poetry. There are so many ways of expressing yourself, and dancing is one of them. And the amount of people that I come across and I hear saying, I can't dance, I'm not a good dancer. I'd really love to know who dictated, where does this definition exist of what makes a good dancer? I mean, I understand if you're trying to do something like ballroom dancing, where there is a certain etiquette, there's a certain way, a certain footwork and body posture and things like this that you have to think about. But dancing in general, there is no definition anywhere. I don't think there's a rule carved into a rock somewhere.
I'm so glad you said that.
I'll be on that dance floor, moving your body in the way that serves you.
It's moving to a rhythm. It is basically allowing your body to hear the rhythm through your body. That's all you are doing.
No rhythm?
But who defined that? What does that mean that you don't
It's
have
your
rhythm?
interpretation of it, right?
It is your interpretation. So this thing about not dancing, I'll tell you something. I used to be made fun of, you know, when I came back from India. I was 16 years old, and my sister actually used to take the mickey out of me for dancing. Like, when we'd go to it was a very new environment, going to clubs and things like that for me. Just like to point out, I wasn't at 16 I went to a club. I came back from India when I was 16. But
they do it differently in Leeds. Maybe different age range there.
But when we went out, she'd always actually take the mickey out of me and laugh at me, literally in the middle of the dance floor, laugh at me the way I'd be dancing. And for a while, I was like yourself, where I kind of withdrew, and I was like, I didn't used to go out and I wouldn't dance, I'd just sit down. Then when it came to a point where actually I had my own friend circle, I was at university and I went out, actually I found nobody's laughing at me. I was able to dance the way I wanted to dance. I went on to do Kathak, so classical Indian dancing. I went on to become a professional Bollywood dancer. I've done, I've been in, you know, in kind of dancing troupes in Bollywood films. So I've gone on to be a professional dancer. So what I would say to anybody who says they cannot dance, or somebody has told them they can't dance, do you know what? Just do what feels right to you. And we are going to talk on another session. I'm going to be bringing on actually one of the people I go to Zumba classes with, and she's an amazing inspiration. I'll be bringing her on because I want her to talk about, she teaches dance as well, and I want her to talk about how that helps people build confidence. I believe she works with kids actually when it comes to teaching dance. So I want her to talk a little bit about that and how it can help with self-confidence and channeling that positive energy. So yeah, but dancing, hey, I think all three of us feel very strongly about dancing. We had many a dance offs.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a great way of exercising is dance. You know, get that release of endorphins, feel great about yourself, feel good about your body. You know, we are going to talk about body image on another one. So feel great about your body, whatever size or shape you are. And ultimately just goof around sometimes, you know, like if you don't want to dance in front of people, don't dance in front of people, but come on, put some music on in your kitchen, just move around.
It's like singing in the bathroom, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a bathroom singer, I'm a shower singer.
Exactly. So yeah, but self-esteem, look in the mirror, look at yourselves, see what you would like to change, and change
or not
it.
change.
Yeah.
Or not change if you're happy with the way
And you know, if there was one thing I'd like to leave for anyone that's listening, it would be accept yourself first.
Yes. Love yourself.
Definitely.
Before you try and look for approval
Absolutely.
from others.
Yes.
And you don't need it, because if
No.
you accept yourself, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Absolutely. Love yourself.
There we
Nice
go.
one, ladies.
Lovely.